Hello guys, this is Good Like, and this is a build that I made for Path of Exile. I've been playing Path of Exile, Legion, Patch, League for some time, since it launched. Wrapped up around a week ago and made this build. You see, this game has seen many stages, many phases of power creep. So I thought to myself, how far can we push characters? Can we actually play the game by doing no damage at all? Well, actually, I just had this build idea in my mind ever since Brutality got released, and it was kinda shit in all the previous patches. But now, it's still fucking shit, but not as shit as before. It's almost playable, which is a good sign. Maybe a few more power creeps will bring this up. So how does this work? Okay, so I made this whole build around the concept of Ambush and Assassinate, which causes you to have 100% more critical strike chance against enemies that are on full life. Also on low life, which is kinda useful, but the important part is the full life aspect of it. So if you have an attack that does no damage, you can use the attack, have the 100% more critical strike chance on a random enemy, crit with it, making use of this modifier, and since you did no damage, the enemy is still on full life. So the spell that you cast with the crit from that attack would also have 100% more critical strike chance against that target. Of course, the only problem here is that your attack must do literally 0 damage. If it does even 1 damage, it doesn't work. So how do you do 0 damage with your attacks? You can see my Chainhook doesn't do any damage. Well, the answer is you link Chainhook, wherever the hell it is, right over here, with Brutality. That's the first step. The first step of linking with Brutality eliminates all chaos and all elemental damage, leaving you with just physical damage. But all the damage from Chainhook, since it's an attack, comes from your weapon, and all your other gear, I suppose, but primarily from your weapon. So if you use a weapon that doesn't have any physical damage, your Chainhook will do no physical damage, and due to Brutality, no elemental damage, and no chaos damage. Which means it does no damage. I mean, I don't know how fucking more spelled out it can be, but that's basically what it does. Now, there's a few weapons that have this effect of having no physical damage. Oro Sacrifice, the good old Flicker Strike sword. There's, I think, isn't Cospris one of those? Cospris Malice. Oh, I don't have one on me. Maybe somewhere in my things. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it also doesn't have any damage. But fundamentally, there's no reason to use something like Cospris Malice. Since you're using Brutality in your linked with your attack, and your attack is also linked with cast on crit, your spell that you cast with the crits from the attack will also be linked with Brutality, which means that your spell that you use will only be able to do physical damage. This means all the benefits that you get from this are basically nil. You're not going to be chilling anything, I guess. Not with this weapon anyway. You're not going to be adding the cold damage. And triggering socketed spells is actually a bad idea, because if those spells do damage, they're probably not going to do as much damage as the skill that you have socketed and scaled for your cast on crit setup. So they're probably not going to be very effective, but they will damage your enemies, which once again will remove the effectiveness of Ambush and Assassinate. Yeah, in this build, you essentially want to do no damage at all, except with one specific spell that you proc from crits. And that spell must do physical damage. And that spell ideally must do physical damage in one big chunk. Now, what are the physical spells? I've looked far and wide and only found 3. Blade Vortex, Bladefall, and ethereal knives. Problem with Blade Vortex is obvious. It's not one big chunk of a spell. It's more of a continuous repeated hits type of a spell. So it doesn't fit this build. Bladefall also has a similar problem. It's more of a hit the enemy multiple times with subsequent waves of the same cast type of deal. So I assume only the first wave would get the benefit of the ascendancy. But EK fits the build perfectly. EK just fires a bunch of projectiles that just deal a bunch of damage. Well, it's not really a bunch of damage these days, let's be honest, but it's still a chunk that just happens. So once I decided on EK, I started looking into options to scale it. And back before this patch, or just generally recently, I couldn't get enough damage to make this seem reasonable. But with some PoE warrior magic, I managed to make this build do 1 million average damage hit. Now, this version that you see here, unfortunately, is the budget version of the build, so it doesn't have such extravagant amount of values. I basically ran out of currency. I mean, look at this. I've only got 2x and just barely 1,000 chaos, if that, left. I could, trade some currency, but it just wouldn't be enough, I don't think. So what are these budget items that I speak of? Okay, so first you obviously need a Lionized Vision, which is corrupted with +1 to level of socket jumps, or +2 to level of socketed projectile jumps. The idea is just to make your ethereal knives do as much damage as possible, and this particular chest has pierce support in it, making it a 7-link, technically 6-link for ethereal knives because it doesn't directly link with Chainhook. Now the corruption gives 2 levels to this spell, because it gives 1 level to empower and 1 level to the spell itself. That's why projectile gems would work as well, because it would just give 2 levels to ethereal knives. But +1 is slightly better, because it also increases the level of other gems on the links. Another budget setup that you absolutely need is the Adziri's Reflection shield, specifically for its effect of unaffected by curses in combination with Coward's Legacy, which will make you low life, combined with Vain Attunement to basically get another 30 more damage multiplier just pulled out of our ass, essentially. After all these things, these were basically the things that pushed the damage high enough to where I could say, yeah, maybe it's worth a shot trying it out. Other notable things is uncorrupted Fidelity Spike. Ideally a perfect 30 increased attack speed roll for maximum attack speed. That's very nice for this build as well. And the reason you don't want it to be corrupted, because the corruptions, I don't believe any of them will be nearly as good as plus 25% global crit, which all goes into your spell. I made use of Dodri's Tenure, corrupted with vulnerability, also a perfect spell damage roll. I don't use the upgraded version because it adds 50% mana cost to skills and chaos damage to spells, none of which really matters and only just hinders me. You can tell it's a budget build because it makes use of probably quite easily acquirable corruption on the cheap pair of gloves. For helmet, I crafted it. I bought the base with ethereal knives damage, and I just dumped some random fossils. Okay, they're not random. I have them somewhere around here in this resonator tab. I think I used Jagged, Scorch, and Pristine. The two that matter is Jagged and Pristine, but the reason I put in Scorched is because 3-socket resonators are for some reason infinitely cheaper than 2-socket resonators. So just dropping in a random fossil that doesn't do anything is cheaper than using 2-socket resonators. I don't get it. There's probably a reason for it, but I don't actually play this game much, so fuck if I know. But yeah, I'll do anything that costs a bit less. So what you're looking for is obviously life, nearby enemies take increased physical damage. Once again, we can only do physical damage due to brutality, so that's very nice. and some life, and maybe some resists or stats. Anything to fill out the character. After that, I purchased some boots and some... I found a ring in one of my tabs, and just other random jewelry, which mostly is just life resistances, some strength, because this build doesn't have that much strength, and it also gives more life. And I crafted minus mana on all of them. I crafted -9 on this one, crafted -7 on these two, which adds up to 23 minus mana cost, which is exactly how much Chainhook costs once linked with, well, a random blue gem, brutality, and empower. If you link something else for the last gem, it might cost more, so you may need more minus mana cost of skills. I don't know why I'm telling you this. You're obviously not gonna play this shit. Anyway, I should be like capped for resists. Yeah, it works. Like, one important thing is obviously, due to this shield, you're immune to all curse effects. So nothing can actually reduce your resistances. Aside from maybe one specific boss and one specific map using specific elemental equilibrium, or if you go into Hall of Grandmasters for some reason and, I don't know, someone uses like one of those frost thingies that reduces frost resistance, or some other shenanigans. Look, the point is, most of the time, you're not actually gonna need additional resistances, because this shield just makes it all go away. It's such a nice shield. For the build itself, oh well, I just kind of take any physical damage I can get, because the only thing we can do for scaling is physical damage and spell damage. So you basically take everything that does that, or just generic damage, on the tree, and then all the life nodes you can find, and then you still cry in Mathel. And of course you take all the crit multiplier that you can find on the tree, because you're always gonna crit. Like PoE literally says that my critical strike chance is 100. So, you know, and I trust the damn thing, so why wouldn't you take these? Yeah, just any spell damage, even with a shield or some physical damage. It doesn't matter that you don't get the chaos damage. No, look, it's still decent, because there's not much on the tree that actually does this kind of thing. For jewel slots, you obviously need Ring of Blades. Ring of Blades makes Ethereal Knives an AoE skill, which is very important for this build, because you'll be jumping into a pack of mobs, doing no damage, then you're in the middle of a pack of mobs, bam, a nova of Ethereal Knives, pretty much everything dies. Plus, since you are using this chest, it's linked with Pierce, which means your Ethereal Knives can pierce, which helps with that effect. Here we have a Watcher's Eye, with specifically the very last mod, 12% chance to deal double damage while using Pride. We are using Pride, I'll show the rest later, but the point here is, it's the only mod on a Watcher's Eye that affects Pride that works for this build, and it boosts damage quite a bit, so decided to buy it. I think it was 3x or something. And then it's just a random spell damage crit life jewel. I'm sure if you looked far and wide you could find a timeless jewel that does something for this build that would be pretty ridiculous, but once again, you're not gonna play this build, so it doesn't matter. Right, for auras, what do we have? We have Pride, we have Flesh and Stone in Blood Stance with Maim, which increases physical damage taken tremendously. We have War Banner, which also increases physical damage taken. You could also drop it if you want to for some adrenaline, but as you can see, I kind of ran out of slots. And I also run Precision because I didn't have any more currency, so I couldn't get any accuracy on any of these fucking items. So, well, it's useful to have it. Instead, I got an Enlightened level 4, which allows me to run all of this and still have mana, even though nothing I do costs any mana, so it doesn't really matter, it could be 0. But technically my Precision isn't level 21 yet, so we'll get there. Or, well, we won't, because I'm also not gonna play this anymore. Fucking done with the league, guys. Look at this. I have all the fucking challenges. I leveled the fucking character to level 100 by grinding toxic sewers of elder kind from level 98. I'm done. Very important thing to do, by the way. Your movement skill pretty much has to be leap slam, because of one thing that happened with 3.7. With 3.7, a bunch of skills for some reason got additional physical damage. Unbelievable. I don't know if I can even show this. Yeah, look at this riposte. It has added attack physical damage. So many skills have this bullshit. What the fuck were they thinking? Now every single skill that I want to use for this build doesn't work, because if I socket riposte, well, I can't probably socket it properly, but the point is, it has physical damage, which gets added on top of everything, and that means that even if my weapon has no physical damage, it still fucking does physical damage. Originally, back when I thought this build, back when Brutality came out, I was using Shield Charge, and now I'm stuck with garbage skills like Leap Slam and Chainhook, oh dearie me. Now, I tried using just Leap Slam, but it just feels extremely stupid. I don't know why it feels that way, but just don't even try. It just feels crap. Chainhook also feels crap, but less crap, and it has other bonuses. For example, it grants you Rage. Rage allows you to use Berserk, which you basically use just for the less damage taken, but that's still nice. Anyway, I digressed. Leap Slam, having no physical damage, can also be linked with Brutality to do no damage as well. And that way you can still proc your Fortify and run around. For cast when damage taken setup, I have a Golem. Technically, Golem does damage, which will fuck with my Ascendancy, but they do damage so little and it literally doesn't matter. I've never been in a situation where summoning a Flame Golem and it doing damage mattered. I have been in situations where using Leap Slam and doing damage mattered. With Golem, it's not the case. Plus, it's on a high level cast when damage taken, so it's not like even there all the time. The other thing is Molten Shell. As you notice, this chest piece has a lot of armor, and I do make use of some flasks which give additional armor and just grant armor in general, and the skill itself gives armor, and it's pretty nice buff defensively to Papa's Molten Shell. Besides that, in Berserk we also have All Grace, which grants a lot of dodge. Very nice and useful way to mitigate damage, and necessary when you barely have any life. The flasks I chose are because most of the flasks actually don't do any damage buffs to the build. Aside from having Diamond Flask, which, you know, crit build, you pretty much always put it in. Every other flask that I looked at just doesn't do anything, because they all either do some conversion, or add elemental damage, or stuff like that. It just doesn't, or melee damage. None of this matters to a build like this. You want physical spell damage, and flasks don't do it. So instead I use flasks to bolster up my defenses. I use a Basalt for additional physical damage reduction, and another rare to have a freeze immunity. I don't need curse immunity, as we've discussed before. Use Ruby's Concoction with perfect rolls for block. With this flask up, we will have 50 chance to block attacks, 20 to block spell damage. It's pretty nice. With all the flasks up, we will have 10k armor, then God knows how much Molten Shell we're at, probably another 2k or something. That's probably good enough to warrant its use. I use Cinder Swallow Urn for a very peculiar reason. So the problem with this build is that it does all of its damage with spell. Physical spell, no less. So there's practically no way to actually gain sustain from this setup. Barely can leech from that. You can barely do anything, really. Cinder Swallow Urn is one way to kind of go around that, because it grants some regeneration, as you can see. depending on the build mod, and a bunch of recovery when you kill things. And I mean, this build isn't built to go kill, like, you know, Shapers and Uber Elders. If you're gonna play this, you're probably just gonna map around, so it's perfect for that kind of situation where you're constantly killing things, thus you're constantly recovering stuff. You can ignore the ignite bonuses, they don't matter. Another thing it helps with is the energy shield recovery, because while I use energy shield leech, and originally I used, and I don't want to switch because this will break my auras and I can't be arsed to put them back on, controlled destruction, but my energy shield would always get dumpstered by Blood Rage, which grants us Frenzy Charges, which is a nice damage buff. Since this wasn't enough to sustain it. When I switched to Energy Shield Leech more or less takes care of Blood Rage, so Cinder Swallow Urn helps recover the energy shield so you're not constantly just on your life. Finally, I use a instant life flask with bleed removal, the standard. Right, like I said, this is a budget option. The more expensive 1 million average hit option involves running a additional curse amulet, or, you know, leveling up this character to something like 90 and picking up Whispers of Doom if you're more into that kind of thing, and getting one ring with curse on hit with whatever is your preferred second curse. Now, vulnerability is obvious due to us doing physical damage. The other one, I believe the best one, is Assassin's Mark, though given that the damage is already kind of fine, you probably want something with more defensive aspect to it. Maybe something like, I don't know, Poacher's Mark, you know, that will give you some sustainability, that will allow you to draw Blood Rage, because you can generate frenzy charges via that. I don't know. Look, who cares? No one else is going to play this build anyway. Also, I think you can use Vol Righteous Fire, but I don't know. I don't actually play spells, so I don't know how it works. But, yeah, I left one blue socket for it accidentally, so not that I have any slots to play it with until next patch, when I'm not going to play this build anyway. Anyway, here's a random shaped race course map. Why don't we try and do it and hope that the boss doesn't get reflection and instantly kill me, which is probably possible. I don't even know anymore. Yeah, I mean, see what happens. Maybe I won't even die. You can see the greatness of this build in action. Oh god, the lag. Alright, so as you can see, Chainhook is fucking garbage. Look at that fucking garbage attack. When it works, it fucking kills everything. Literally everything. It doesn't matter what it is. But it doesn't always work. It just sometimes misses because it's an oddly targeted skill. So even at rare, just instantly obliterated with no chance of survival. What the fuck was that? Did I like fucking cancel my Chainhook with movement skill or something? I don't even know what's happening after this patch. Anyway, it's a garbage skill. I hate using it. I wanna be using shield charge, but then it wouldn't work. All right, moment of truth. Yeah, there we go. See? Damage is pretty nice. Damage is pretty nice, but you kind of get dumpstered for some reason. I guess if there's not enough like targets to leech from or something, and like once you're back into the packs, fuck off. There you go. Alright, so the true moment of truth, of course, is how well does it deal with Legion? It fucking kills them instantly. See, rares? Who fucking gives a shit? Fucking boxes? Dead. Bosses? Fucking two-shot. And so am I. Okay, there we go. So, sustain-wise, not that great. Starting to take some damage because we focused too long on the boss that didn't want to fucking die. Come on. Dodge all this fucking shit. Alright, where's that fucking boss? I have my... Alright, time for you to die. There you go. No problems. No problems. No, it has nice damage, except when actually like killing fucking ultra high, you know, life bosses. Then it's just fucking garbage. As is expected. I didn't expect much more than that. Okay. We probably killed all of them. Look, if we didn't, who gives a shit? I'm not gonna play this character anymore anyway. Go away. Yay! Yeah, this damage, like I said, is budget damage, but it still fucking one-shots everything. It's fucking good enough. I don't get it. Sometimes I just take random damage from it. I don't know. Anyway. So that was that. It's nice. Nice XP per hour. Honestly, it's almost surprising how well it kills those general map bosses. But the Legion mobs are so horribly overtuned when they're broken out of their prison that there's just no hope in killing them quickly and painlessly. Do mind you, I'll make one notice. It's not that important to one-shot them. The important part is getting them to low life. If you can get them to low life, that's good enough. So, because you'll just hit another time and you'll have all the same bonuses, so it's fine. So the build really operates at kind of 35% more damage than you think. If you want to look at it that way. Yeah, but that wasn't very smooth. That wasn't very nice. It was like a damage map, wasn't it? Like, we had, like, extra damage, right? An endurance charge on hit. Oh. Yeah. So, considering we had that and we killed the fucking Legion boss, I'd say that it was pretty fucking successful. For a build at level 78 with 3.6k life. I really just wanted to make this build because I thought up a long time ago it was always garbage. Still kind of is, but almost playable. So I made it as my farewell before I quit until like a few patches later, because I really joined Legion back because I saw that they were going to make a lot of changes. I hadn't played PoE for a year and a half, so I skipped out on like 6 patches or something, and I had really much fun early on, and then eventually I decided, well, I can probably actually reach level 100 and I can probably get all the challenges, so why not do it? So I decided to do it. So that's what I've been doing this summer, and that's why I haven't been making videos. I will go back to making videos a bit later. There's still a few more things I want to do in the few days of summer that are left, and after summer is over as well, I guess. Not that it matters. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I hope that this inspires you to make your own builds and try and have a good time when you make your own creation and it's fucking kill stuff sometimes, maybe. Goodbye.